Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. I'm Mark Owen. In this edition, Poland's love-hate relationship with Brussels. The people seem to think the EU is a good place for Poland to be. So how come the government in Warsaw is among the most Eurosceptic in the 28-state bloc? Joining the EU is seen as part of building democracy in Poland. And for many years, Poland was one of the bloc's biggest success stories. But now Brussels is struggling to make Warsaw respect basic democratic rules. Poland has become one of the EU's biggest headaches. The Law and Justice Party has managed to tap into the psyche of the Polish people in an age-old way. Money, generous trial benefit, just one of the ways the Polish government has managed to make itself an almost automatic choice come voting day. But where does this leave Poland and the rest of the EU? And how does the lack of a welcome for migrants tally with membership of the European Union? Gulliver Cragg sent us this in-depth look at how the Poles see themselves, their country and their future.
The town of Biała in eastern Poland, along with much of the country, is experiencing a baby boom. Tomek is 1 day old in these pictures.
It's just such an incredible feeling of joy when that tiny person comes into the world. Incredible.
Poland's ruling party kept its key election promise. Child benefit of €115 per month per child from the second child on.
This is a poor region, and I think that the child benefit program is really helping a lot of families.
In this hospital, the birth rate is up by 12%. Dr. Andrzej Kisiel is a busy man.
It's hard to determine exactly what the reason is, but economic conditions are clearly a factor, and the child benefit program is having a big impact.
Fortunately, the ward is well equipped to deal with the increase. EU funds paid for its refurbishment.
We practically got a whole new hospital here with air conditioning, state-of-the-art equipment. The EU's really helped us.
Yet despite all the European help, this region gave a huge majority to a party led by a man who is no friend of Brussels. Jaroslaw Kaczynski only wears black. He's still in mourning for his twin brother, the former president Lech Kaczynski, who died in a plane crash in Russia in 2010. On the 10th of every month, Jaroslaw comes to the presidential palace to pay homage. Protesters accuse Kaczynski of exploiting a national tragedy for political gain. When Kaczynski comes back in the evenings, the protests are usually bigger, which makes him angry. Protesters taunted Kaczynski after he failed to stop Donald Tusk being re-elected as EU Council President. Only Poland voted against him. The party leader encourages his supporters to blame Tusk, who was Prime Minister at the time of the plane crash, for what happened, though he's never entirely clear why.
Ten straszliwy atak nienawiści wynika właśnie z tego, że prawda jest coraz bliżej.
He's been saying that for 7 years. The fierce animosities of national politics all appear very distant when seen from Rososz, a village near Biała, where Tomek, now 10 days old, is home with his brother and 2 sisters.
That's my boy.
The Wichuks say they could cope without the child benefit, but it has had a big impact.
He's a quick learner.
Jest te 500+. Jest jakiś dochód.
Now, thanks to those benefits, I can stay at home and look after the kids. This is a huge advantage. If you ask me, the Law and Justice Party, well, it hasn't done me any harm so far.
Especially considering that in other countries, child benefit has existed for years. We didn't have that in Poland. So the party really hit on the thing that could get people to vote for them.
There is another policy that draws voters to the Law and Justice Party. Its tough stance on migrants.
Tusk is attacking Poland for not taking in refugees. Merkel invited them. Come on, we'll let you all in.
If that policy is applied and we have to take in however many we have to, things will really turn sour for us. They have a different faith. To them, us Catholics are the enemy.
The European Commission is taking legal action against Poland over its refusal to welcome any refugees. Yet people here are still resolutely pro-European.
There's no way Poland's going to want to leave the EU, I guarantee you.
It's hardly surprising. The EU funds lavished on Poland have transformed villages like this one. They paid, for example, for the refurbishment of the community centre, where this folk singing group meets once a week.
The EU helps us. It helps us a lot. But lately, they're always hassling us about something or other. They say we don't respect the rule of law. They compare us to Belarus even. And the main culprit is that Frans Timmermans.
Frans Timmermans is Vice President of the European Commission. Reviled in pro-government media, he's a hero to readers of the liberal Gazeta Wyborcza.
With great respect for your efforts to ensure that the principle of the rule of law are respected in Poland, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you, France.
Timmermans has been leading the charge against Kaczynski's reforms, which he says threaten the democracy that Poland built after the fall of the Iron Curtain.
I will fight to my dying day to not let what was won by healing Europe get lost again.
The cream of Poland's liberal elite were at the gala. Among them, Małgorzata Gersdorf. She's head of the Supreme Court, though Law and Justice MPs want her removed from that post.
They are threatening the independence of the judges, which is fundamental to the separation of powers. That is the whole basis of our system, like all democratic countries. The courts must be independent.
The next day, Gersdorf was in Katowice for a crisis congress. Lawyers from all over Poland gathered here to discuss how to respond to government moves that most of them see as a threat.
Myśmy na nią przysięgali, powtórzę raz jeszcze, a niektórzy przed Bogiem też, co przypominam, a nie przed partią polityczną.
Nevertheless, the organisers had invited one party representative, the Deputy Justice Minister. At first they laughed, but then... More than 3/4 of the delegates walked out. We asked why.
Oh, probably because we just don't know how to behave. That's what the state TV will say. No, we walked out because the minister said things that an honest lawyer simply cannot tolerate.
Edward Rzepka is not just a lawyer. He served as an MP after Poland's first free elections in 1989, which set the country on the road to EU membership.
When there are national holidays, we always fly an EU flag as well as a Polish one.
Back in Rzepka's office, we watched the state TV's report on the Congress. It turned out his prediction had been spot on.
So the message is that the Lawyers' Congress was attended by 1,500 Neanderthals, troglodytes, or whatever you want to call it.
Law and Justice has taken control of Polish public broadcasting.
It's the TV of one party. There is no objectivity. There are no differences of opinion. It has become pure propaganda.
This media takeover, like the judicial reform and the refusal to take in refugees, has sparked threats of sanctions from the EU. As has another battle. To these activists, the most urgent of all, since here the government's actions are irreversible.
EU law says that you may not cut down any trees in this spot where we're standing. It's a protected area.
This is the ancient and unique Białowieża forest, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, where Poland's Environment Ministry has authorised a massive logging programme. They say this is necessary to stop a bark beetle epidemic. Adam Bogdan is among the many who disagree.
But the most important Polish scientists, as well as UNESCO and the European Commission, do not agree with this idea that the beetle is a threat.
The Commission has launched an infringement procedure against Poland over the logging, but the government says it can prove it's doing no wrong. The Deputy Environment Minister has even been here to teach forestry students about the strategy.
Puszcza była zawsze przez człowieka użytkowana w różny sposób, wieloraki.
The forest has always been exploited by people in various different ways. We'll see in a few years who is right, those who would simply leave the forest as it is, and those who, in accordance with Polish and EU law and scientific experience, know how to really protect these habitats.
And in the meantime, the logging continues. Some say it's for profit. Others argue the margins are too low for that to make sense, which would imply that the government's main motive here is just to prove that it won't be bullied by Brussels.
Gulliver Cragg joins us now from Warsaw. Gulliver, thank you for your report. I'm left wondering, is there any chance the EU will impose sanctions on Poland?
Well, the EU has started what it calls the rule of law observation procedure, which is a new mechanism that it created, and Poland is the first country to be put into this procedure. And according to the rules, if Poland doesn't follow the Commission's recommendations, then there could be sanctions. But this is sort of being called the nuclear button, and it's something that Brussels is very loath to do, and also it would have to be agreed by all member states. And Jaroslaw Kaczynski has a very good friend in Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, who is also somebody who is often described as populist and talks about illiberal democracy as being a good thing. And so as long as Kaczynski has got Orban on side, it seems quite unlikely that they would be able to get the votes in order to impose sanctions on Poland. But the European Commission, it's not just Franz Timmermans, people in Brussels are really worried about what's going on in Poland and very much want to find a way to do something about it, to make this government change course.
Gulliver, why is there this determination not to take any refugees?
I think that this is something that the government has realised has cross-party popularity, unfortunately. Many members, people I mean who vote for the opposition in Poland and who don't like Jaroslaw Kaczynski, nevertheless aren't very keen on the idea of taking in refugees. And so if this government poses as the only defence against having refugee quotas forced on Poland by Brussels, then it's something that plays quite well with the voters. And generally, we're looking at how the government is trying to square the fact fact that Poles are overwhelmingly pro-European, with the fact that the government, are much more Eurosceptic and seem to have a deepening conflict with Brussels. And we see this opposition to refugees coming up again and again. They're insisting more and more on that and being more and more resolute about it. Another thing that we've seen appearing in their discourse is the idea that, yes, Poland likes the European Union and is glad to receive these funds, but that doesn't mean that Poland owes Europe anything, even in terms of respecting the rules, because it's Europe that owes Poland, because Poland didn't receive reparations after the Second World War when the country was destroyed.
Gulliver, what's the opposition doing? How long can this situation continue?
Well, the opposition is very appalled by what's going on in Poland. And people like Edward Rzepka or Adam Michnik, who you saw in the report, who were part of Poland's transition from communism to democracy and are now entering the retirement age, they are really devastated to see what's happening to their country and to see so much of what was built apparently being undone. But the opposition is also quite divided. There's been this protest movement called the Committee for the Protection of Democracy, which in late 2015 and most of 2016 was able to get a lot of people out onto the streets. But due to various controversies and divisions, they're getting fewer and fewer people out protesting against this government. And the two main opposition parties are also sharing the opposition vote between them and seem to be finding it quite hard to come up with an alternative that is a really good sell to the Polish people.
Gulliver Cragg in Warsaw, thank you very much indeed. And that ends this Reporters programme. You can see Gulliver's report again, of course, via our website, france24.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Stay with us.